Hello and welcome to Sports Moles Football Shorts. I'm Barney Corkhill. I'm here with our football editor Matt Law, and the Premier League action is back after the international break. Matt, we're here to discuss the Game Week 5 predictions. I'm sure both of us are keen to consign Game Week 4 and those ridiculous results to our distant memory, involving Liverpool and Manchester United. Obviously, big defeats for both teams. Unfortunately, Liverpool are first up for us this week, and it's a really fascinating match, one of the most intriguing Merseyside derbies I can remember in recent years. It's been 10 years to the day on Saturday since Everton last beat Liverpool. 5 years to the day on Saturday since Jurgen Klopp took charge of his first Liverpool game. It's obviously the Premier League leaders, Everton, versus the champions, Liverpool. Really, really big game and really interesting game. Probably one of the most even, if you're looking at form so far in recent years. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's a huge game, isn't it? I think, like you say, there's been a few draws, hasn't there, in there over the years. Obviously, like you say, it's 10 years since they last beat them, which is an awfully long time for Everton. Everton fans have had to take a lot of stick. But I think this game, the way they've started the season, Everton's been fantastic. Not even just their performances, the goals they've been putting in, isn't it? They've scored 5 twice, they've scored 4 twice in their last 5 games, all competitions. So really firing. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin in the England setup now is, I think, 6 goals he's got this season, 6 Premier League goals in 4 games, which is terrific. Rodriguez, Decore, Allen, Richarlison all playing very well. Got a couple of defensive concerns for this game, Everton, haven't they? So that'll be, Lucas Dean should play, Mina as well with a little bit of a doubt as well. So it could be, a debut for Godfrey at the back potentially. So obviously a lot to think. Liverpool have got a lot of players back, which I'm sure you'll discuss. Obviously they're looking a lot stronger than they were, but that 7-2 was good to see, in my opinion, after obviously United getting beat by 6, but it was a ridiculous game and almost, it's just unheard of, isn't it? Something like that. And would that have happened in a normal season? I don't think so. It's just the way things are at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game. I think, like I say, it's the first game after the international break. It's going to be some tired legs, players that have been away, but should be a great game. And I've gone a draw here, to be honest, expecting a few goals. I've gone 2-2.
Yeah, I've actually also gone a draw here. I've gone 1-1. I mentioned that 10-year unbeaten record for Liverpool in the derby, which Everton are obviously desperate to break. It's far too long for them. But the majority of the Premier League fixtures in that time have ended as a draw, and especially at Goodison Park, it always seems to be a draw. I don't think there's even been a goal in this fixture, in this exact fixture at Goodison Park since 2016. So, it's usually a pretty tight affair. This season, obviously, there haven't exactly been many low-scoring games in general, let alone between Everton and Liverpool. There's been plenty of goals in those two teams' games so far. Everton, as you mentioned, free scoring at the moment, and Liverpool, as you mentioned, conceding 7 last time out against Aston Villa. And the worrying thing for Liverpool, I think, from that is it could have quite easily been double figures. No exaggeration there. Barkley missed a lot of chances. Watkins hit the bar, didn't he, after also hitting a hat-trick. So that could have been even worse for Liverpool. I would say from their point of view, you have to regard that result as just an absolute freak. There was 3 deflected goals, and while Aston Villa could have scored more, I wouldn't be worrying too much as a Liverpool fan just yet. If we lose this game and then maybe the next game after that, maybe, but it just seems to be just an aberration of a result for me. So I'm not too worried yet, despite that being obviously one of the most embarrassing results in Liverpool's history. But yeah, Jurgen Klopp will be demanding a response from his side, as you say, players back, Thiago, Sadio Mane back. Alisson not being back is obviously a big blow with all the question marks surrounding Adrian at the moment. So that'll be an interesting one with Everton's attacking such good form. But these games are often so tight, and even in this free scoring season, I can see it being another tight game. So I've gone for 1-1 in this one. Also on Saturday is Chelsea versus Southampton. A really fascinating game again. This one, Southampton in decent form before the international break. Chelsea put in their best performance and picked up their best result of the season so far just before the international break. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's an interesting game. Is it a point between them in the table at this stage? I think it's always difficult to look at the table at this stage, but Southampton 2 wins, 2 defeats from their 4 games. Obviously won their last 2 against Burnley and West Brom, which I think were needed after the Tottenham game, which was very disappointing. And I think they're a fantastic away. We spoke about a lot of them. They Southampton on their travels are a very good side. Obviously Danny Ings is a fantastic player, got a lot of quality in the team, a lot of attacking prowess, and they move the ball very well and they work very hard, which is the makings of a really good side. Obviously Chelsea on the other hand, like you said last time out against Palace, I think that was easily their best performance of the season. Obviously the West Brom game was very strange, 3-0 down, 3-3. Obviously lost to Liverpool and were well beaten in that game. Obviously beat Brighton as well, first game of the season. So still working their way in, Chelsea. Obviously they've got a lot of new players. They're going to take time to bed in. I think Timo Werner's not really particularly fired so far. Obviously, a few other players that will be keen to sort of get game time here and impress. And I do fancy Chelsea here. It's a tight one. And I went 3-1 originally, but I've actually just gone 2 because I do like Southampton. They've got a lot of good players, and as we know, away from home they are very good. So just Chelsea here 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone exactly the same. I can see Southampton getting on the score sheet with Ings in good form, and Kepa is likely to come back in for Chelsea because Mendy picked up an injury on international break. But Chelsea have got pretty much the full complement of attackers back now, and they've got embarrassment of riches to choose from there. So I can see them having enough to get past Southampton. I think it'll be a close one, but I've gone exactly the same there, 2-1 to Chelsea. Arguably the standout fixture. We've got the Merseyside derby obviously early on Saturday, but then later in the day is Manchester City versus Arsenal, Mikel Arteta versus Pep Guardiola again. Another big game. Man City, a distinctly ordinary start to the season so far for them, hasn't it? 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 win. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat from their 3 games so far this season. Arsenal fared much better. They bounced back from defeat to Liverpool last in their previous Premier League game with victory over Sheffield United just before the international break. So they're faring quite well under Mikel Arteta. They've claimed some big scalps already. He knows Pep Guardiola's style better than anyone. So they'll fancy their chances going into this game against a Man City side that's already been beaten 5-2 at home by Leicester so far this season. So Man City in desperate need of a result, but they're still without some big players. Kevin De Bruyne might be out. Aguero and Jesus look like they're going to miss this game as well. There's a question mark over Raheem Sterling, so they could be missing arguably 4 of their biggest and best players there. So Arsenal really fancy their chances going into this game. They'll believe that they can get at least a draw out of this game, perhaps even a win. And given Man City's troubles this season, usually this fixture, for me, it's pretty much an ideal fixture for Man City. As big as Arsenal are, they sort of play into their hands, Man City's, the way Man City play, but they do that less under Arteta. So I think this is going to be a much tougher game for Man City than it has been in recent years. They won both league fixtures 3-0, I think, home and away by memory last season. But this one I can see being much tougher. I'm backing Arsenal to get a 2-2 draw in this one.
Yeah, I was going to draw. I've just gone City here in the end. I think De Bruyne, I would be surprised if he didn't play. I think Martinez came out, didn't he, the Belgian manager, and said that it wasn't an injury as such in terms of like a problem that's going to take a while. It was probably a little bit more precautionary, and I think he might come in. Obviously, Sterling, you'd fancy he would come back in as well. Obviously, he didn't go away with England, that it wasn't a major problem that you'd really. I think the thing with Aguero is because he's been out for so long, could he nip a place on the bench maybe? But I think if City can get De Bruyne and Sterling back for this game, I just fancy him 2-1. It's obviously another test for Arsenal. We spoke about, didn't we, about going to Liverpool, and they showed some good signs against Liverpool, but I still felt that they were short of that standard, the top standard, which is fair enough. Obviously, they've beaten other teams this season. Against Sheffield United, they gave them a bit of a scare, the Sheffield United as well. It wasn't a particularly dominant performance from Arsenal, and same with West Ham. They were lucky in that game. Arsenal obviously beat Fulham, but Fulham, for me, they're going to get beaten by a lot of teams this season. So it's still, I think, question marks. Obviously, I can see improvement definitely under Arteta. There's no doubt about that. But I still think in the big games, City obviously need a result. People spoke about Manchester United's poor start to the season. City only got a point more, after their 3 games. Obviously, both played 3 because both started late. So not been a good start to the season. Leeds played excellent against them, obviously, when they met. So caused them a lot of problems. So it's a really, really big one. But I can see where you're coming from for a draw. But I've just gone City in the end, 2-1.
2-1 to Man City for Matt. Okay, you mentioned Manchester United there. It's time to talk about them. Really poor start to the season. Lost both their home Premier League games so far. They are in good form away from home if you're looking for optimism ahead of this match as they travel to Newcastle in the final game on Saturday. But they need a response to that 6-1 home defeat to Tottenham, don't they?
Yeah, massively. It was... I don't really know what to say about that game, to be honest. It was such a good start, so early, and it just all fell apart after that. There was some of the defending was just catastrophic, no excuses for that. And Tottenham were good, to be fair, give a bit of credit to Tottenham, but United just so short. I think obviously they had a busy deadline day, didn't they? Obviously Cavani won't play here, could make his debut against PSG, which would be good, obviously, because of the quarantine rules. Obviously Martial's out as well, so would it be Rashford, Greenwood up there as a 2? Will Mata come into the team? Obviously, Daniel James is an option. And I think, obviously, Alex Telles as well could make his debut. I think Solskjaer come out and said the fact that he played, they were in Peru, Brazilian national team. They played Peru midweek, and he's had a long trip back, did a recovery session on Thursday. But will he be on the bench for this game? Obviously, Pellistri as well, they've got in, probably out the squad for this game because he maybe won for down the line a bit more than this game. But so important for United to bounce back. I think they play Chelsea, don't they, and Arsenal. They're running in all competitions. Obviously, they play PSG and Leipzig as well in the Champions League, two excellent sides. And they play, obviously, Chelsea, Arsenal, and they play Everton as well in the Premier League coming up. So Solskjaer's futures obviously will come under the microscope if the poor run continues. Obviously, a lot of speculation around there. But yeah, Newcastle obviously signed St Maximin to a new deal, haven't they? Obviously making steps forwards, good signings in the transfer market. So obviously their start to the season's been good. 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. So it's one of the games that I keep backing United to win. They keep getting beat, so I feel like I'm going to get there sometime. And obviously it's one of those games going to back a draw. I always lean towards a draw, but I'm just going to go with my heart again, to be honest. I'm going to go United just because they need a response. They desperately need to play a lot better than they have been. And maybe this will be the game where they answer back and answer some critics. So I've gone 2-1 United.
Just a very quick one before I give my prediction. What do you think of Maguire? Do you think he should... I know Solskjaer's come out and said he's maybe carrying a knock, which might be an excuse to leave him out, but do you think he needs to be taken away from the spotlight a bit?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I can see arguments for and against it. Obviously, you want to be playing if you should play your way out of it, in my opinion, but he's just having such a tough time. I think if they had better options back there, obviously Tunzabi is fit now, but it's a big ask to come into this game. You're looking at maybe Bayern. Obviously, you picked up a little knock in internationals, but he's okay. Bayern, Lindelof, and that doesn't particularly fill me with confidence. So if there was better options, I would, but probably play him, to be honest, because he needs to play his way back into form for me.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I'm sure Solskjaer would probably love to give him a break if he needs it, but I don't think he's got that luxury at the moment with the centre-back options at his disposal. As for the game, I'm finding it very hard to back Manchester United at the moment. I think with their injury options, Martial suspended, isn't he? With Martial and Cavani out, I think that limits their attack again. Newcastle come into the match in decent form with a 3-1 win over Burnley just before the international break. And while United's away record is a lot better than the home record at the moment, I'm finding it hard to back them. So yeah, I'm going for a draw in this one. I've gone for 1-1. I can just see Newcastle getting something out of the game and Manchester United in their form at the moment. As you say, this is probably their easiest game coming up on paper, so they really do need a victory if they're going to ease some of the pressure on Solskjaer's shoulders. But I can see Newcastle getting something out of this game. I've gone for 1-1. Okay, moving on to Sunday, we've got Sheffield United versus Fulham. 2 teams at the bottom 2 of the table, 0 points between them so far this season, both in desperate need of victory after 4 defeats from 4 so far. How do you see this one going, Matt?
Yeah, it's a huge game, isn't it? You're talking about, obviously, I always, people talk about 6 pointers this game of season, which I don't particularly like, but Sheffield United, I'm one of those that look ahead as well, and Sheffield United's next 3 are Liverpool, City, Chelsea, so that's rotten. And if they don't get a positive result here, then suddenly, I'm not saying for any stretch of imagination the manager will come under pressure, but you know what these owners are like these days. If they think, well, we did so well last season, you've spent a bit of money this summer as well, bought quite a lot of new players in Sheffield United, obviously Brewster being one of them that you'll know. And it's obviously Fulham, on the other hand, it's a nice game for Sheffield United because Fulham, they made the same mistakes that they made when they first come up. They just can't defend. For me, they've got some good players going forward. I think Mitrovic will score goals again. They've got players up there who will score goals for them, but it's like almost like a replay. You watch them in the game against Villa, particularly that's one that stands out for me. And some of the defending was just absolutely horrifying, like absolutely nowhere near good enough for this level. So fancy Sheffield United here, to be honest. I've gone 2-0.
Yeah, I fancy Sheffield United as well. This does look like the kindest game they could have to finally get off the mark. They only scored their first goal last time out against Arsenal, but as you mentioned earlier, they did run Arsenal quite close in that game. So I can see them picking up their first points of the season here. Fulham, yeah, I agree. I think they're pretty much down. I know a lot of people have already doomed them to relegation when it's quite early to do that, but they haven't really shown too many signs. Obviously, they were very busy on deadline day, and maybe their new signings will help them. In that respect, certainly defensively, they need a lot of help. But yeah, I can see Sheffield United coming out on top of this one. I've gone for 1-0 rather than 2-0. Also on Sunday is the derby between Crystal Palace and Brighton Hove Albion. How do you see that one going, Matt?
Yeah, this is the game, isn't it, as well, that this is the one you'd love the fans to be at. Games like this, always, Palace Brighton. It's always, the Palace fans obviously would be right up for this one, and Brighton would travel well, in terms of that as well. I've watched quite a lot of Brighton this season, and they do a lot right. I like Graham Potter a lot. I think he's a really, really good coach. You can see exactly what he's trying to do, and they've got a lot of good players. But points total, obviously won once, lost 3 out of 4, which is not great. Obviously, the game against United was incredibly, unlucky, and They conceded 4 at Everton last time out, and the way they're shipping goals would be a little bit of a concern for me. Obviously, they played United in the Cup as well and conceded another 3, so 3 in their 2 threes and a 4 in their last 3 games, which, you're always going to struggle because if you've got good players going forward, and Connolly, I like, Mopé's a good play, Trossard, players like that, but at the back, they need to tighten up. Obviously, Palace as well. Interesting one this season, obviously started quite well, 2 wins, 2 defeats, and played excellent against United in that run-in, but poor against Chelsea last time out. So a lot of players coming in, Zaha, new position in the team, they've got new players in the final third, and it's going to be a big one. I've just sat on the fence slightly here, to be honest, because I find it difficult to back either side, so I've gone 1-1.
Yeah, I've gone exactly the same with this one. As you say, Crystal Palace, just a difficult one to figure out. They play so well against Man United at Old Trafford, but then, were never really in the game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge last time out. Brighton, I think, that 3-point haul really doesn't do them much justice because they ran Chelsea really close. Could have easily won that game against Manchester United, probably should have. And then, even the 4-2 against Everton was probably a little bit harsh on them. But as you say, conceding goals as they are, that is a concern for them. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd probably say Brighton have actually impressed me more than Crystal Palace have, despite having half the number of points Crystal Palace have this season. But yeah, like you, I'm going for a draw on this one, 1-1. There's also a London derby straight after that on Sunday between Tottenham and West Ham. It's always a fiercely contested game. Tottenham obviously coming into the back of this off the back of that 6-1 win at Manchester United. Before that, they hit Maccabi Haifa for 7. So that, spell of so many games in the space of a week turned out to be really good for them. Free scoring, Son's in great form, Harry Kane was in great form before the international break. So they'll go into this match absolutely flying. But then West Ham also come into it, a 3-0 win away to Leicester, who before that were 3 wins from 3, 100% starts of the season. So West Ham will be absolutely full of confidence as well. These are always really interesting games, and one team hates losing to the other almost as much as they hate losing to any other team. So it's going to be a fiercely contested match. I can see goals in this one. As we say, it's been a free scoring season so far, and I haven't really gone for too many high scoring games so far this week because I'm expecting it hopefully to settle down a bit after the international break. But this one I can see goals in. Tottenham scoring as they are, absolutely flying, as I mentioned, after that United win. I can see them coming out 3-2 winners in this one.
3-2. Yeah, I've gone slightly different. I've gone 3-1. 3-1 Tottenham here. Obviously, Bale might obviously be playing in this game, and if they couldn't get Bale, Son, and Kane as a front three, and obviously that depends a lot on Bale if he can hit the heights, because I think a lot of people forget he's obviously a fantastic player, but he has had problems at Real Madrid. Their fitness problems and things like that, obviously recently. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes in. But yeah, Son for me is, I know you like him as well. He's fantastic, isn't he? Son, he's such a fantastic. He tore United to absolute pieces last time. Obviously, Kane excellent as well. So it suddenly went from a lot of doom and gloom at Tottenham to suddenly, we're doing something quite good here. They made some good signings, and yeah, I fancy him to win here. To be honest, like you say, West Ham. It looks like they might be getting Benrahma in, mightn't it, from Brentford, which is, for me, would be a fantastic signing. He's been linked with some big clubs, hasn't he? Chelsea, obviously Arsenal before. And if they could get him in, got a lot of good players. West Ham, their second team that they played in the Cup, obviously before they got beat. Haller, obviously Antonio's been fantastic. Bowen's been really good for them coming in. Obviously he'll be keen to get a little bit more goals and assists, but a really good player for them. And obviously Declan Rice, they managed to keep him, which is obviously very, very important for where they want to be. So it's a tight game. West Ham, I do fancy him to score, but like you, only once. But I think Tottenham will win again. To be honest, I've gone 3-1 Tottenham.
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention the 4-0 West Ham win over Wolves before that Leicester win. So they've beaten Wolves and Leicester in the last 2 Premier League games by an aggregate score of 7-0, which is incredibly impressive. Yeah. So they will fancy their chance of getting something out of that game. But both Matt and I are going for Tottenham wins in that match. Rounding off Sunday's action is Leicester versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa, one of only 2 teams, along with Everton, still with a 100% record in the Premier League this season, and obviously come into the match off the back of that incredible 7-2 win over Liverpool. As I mentioned earlier, could have had double figures in that. We mentioned it's one of the worst results in Liverpool's history. It's probably one of the best results in Aston Villa's history for a team that only just avoided relegation last season to beat the champions 7-2. And that scoreline, not really to even flatter them, is just an incredible scoreline. And we thought probably at the start of that day that Leicester's 3-0 home defeat to West Ham might be the most remarkable result of the day, but we were to be surprised a few times before that incredible day of action was over. Leicester obviously beat Man City 5-2 in another remarkable result in this incredible season so far. So this is a really fascinating game for me. I think it's their second and third going into this weekend. Aston Villa will just be flying at the moment, but not just because of that 7-2 win over Liverpool, but their start to the season, the business they've done in the transfer window has been incredible. Jack Grealish shone on international duties, in my opinion, should have got more opportunities than he did for England. So he seems to be in great form. They've got the best defensive record in the league. They've got one of the best attacking records in the league so far, Aston Villa. So they'll be absolutely full of confidence for this one, and they'll really fancy their chances of getting something against the Leicester side, who are also the highest scorers in the league and have been in really good form themselves before that defeat to West Ham. How Leicester bounce back from that defeat to West Ham, I think, will be the key thing in this game. And I am backing them to get the victory. I do like Aston Villa this season, but I can't see them keeping up this incredible form that they've been on so far. Obviously, we mentioned the defending Fulham putting against them when they lost 3-0, and they benefited from some horrendous defending against Liverpool as well. So Leicester probably won't give them as many chances as those two teams did. So they might struggle a bit more. I've gone for Leicester 2-1 win here.
2-1, yeah. I've actually gone a draw here. I've gone 2-2. Villa, fantastic this season. Like you say, Ross Barkley for me was a clever signing. Someone that you always look at Ross Barkley and think, he's not fantastic, but at a club that's not a top 4 club, he go in and he'll play. He'll play a lot of games and he'll do very well. Obviously, John McGinn's a great player, Douglas Luiz, and suddenly they've got Luiz, McGinn, Grealish, Watkins, players like that who the quality is suddenly shot up, and obviously that's going to make Grealish a lot better. So Leicester, on the other hand, yeah, obviously they're an interesting one for me this season. What they're going to obviously, this is second against third in the league at the moment. Obviously, both on 9 points, so that could. Obviously, if Everton get beat, one of them could end the weekend at the top. Obviously, Arsenal and Liverpool both got 9 points as well. So obviously, things would have to happen. But yeah, obviously, both excellent starts to the season. And yeah, I can see where you're coming from with Leicester. I think if I was going to go a winner, I'd go Leicester. But I just think, Villa have been very, very impressive this season. Matty Cash obviously is a great sign as well at the back. That's improved their right back area, which they needed to. Obviously, and the goalkeeper as well from Arsenal, Martinez, was another very clever signing. So tight game. I've gone 2-2.
2-2 for Matt in this one. Okay, from the top of the table down towards the bottom of the table, West Brom versus Burnley on Monday evening. West Brom 17th, Burnley 18th, 1 point between them so far this season. Burnley in particular will be really disappointed with the start to the season. West Brom probably would have expected a difficult start, but maybe not this tough. They've conceded 13 goals in their 4 games so far, which is the worst defensive record in the league, even with those goals being shipped by Liverpool and Manchester United last time out. How do you see this one going, Matt?
Yeah, I think these two are 2 teams that I would fear for this season. Look at the bottom 4 at the moment, and if 3 of those 4 finished at the bottom, would you be that surprised? Really, if Fulham, Sheffield United, Burnley, West Brom, I think they're all going to struggle to get points this season. Burnley, like I say, similar to Sheffield United, obviously been such a good team, haven't they, over the last few years? So difficult to play against, but they've conceded, 3 goals in the last 2 games in all competition, and obviously 3 at Newcastle last time out, who are not exactly free scorers, or they haven't been creating loads of chances early on, despite their pretty good start. West Brom, on the other hand, they've bought Grant in, haven't they, from Huddersfield? Hope will obviously whether he can do it at this level, consistently this season. They need someone to score them some goals. Obviously, he's got some good players, Pereira in the team, players like that who. Obviously they played well against Chelsea, didn't they? That's the game that stands out for me. Obviously 3-0, but then the way they defended after that is the reason why I think they will struggle, because they're not always going to score 3 goals. So that will be a tight one. And this is the game I'm not particularly looking forward to in terms of, I don't know if it'll be a classic, maybe it'll be a 4-4 or another 7-2, but on 1-1 here.
Yeah, I've gone exactly the same. I did initially have it down as a 0-0, but I think, as you mentioned, the defence of both teams so far, obviously we usually associate Burnley with being solid and good at the back, but defensively they haven't been great so far this season. Excuse me. And West Brom, as we know, are shipping goals for fun at the moment with the worst defensive record in the league. So I can see both teams getting on the score sheet, but I can't really pick a winner in this one. West Brom will be delighted, probably, to get any point they can in the Premier League this season with the odds against them, but Burnley will be eyeing this one as a potential win, even though they're away from home. But I can see them sharing the spoils. I've gone for 1-1 in this one as well. Rounding off the game week is Leeds versus Wolves, and this really does promise to be a really good game, doesn't it? Leeds have been fascinating since coming back in the league, and Wolves, the same applies for them over the last 2 years since getting promoted. They've been superb so far. Both teams will be going into this one fancying their chance of picking up a victory. There probably will be chances in the game. It's a really interesting clash of styles, isn't it? Wolves, the way they cope with Leeds is unique style of man-on-man marking is going to be really interesting. And I think Adama Traore, this is the type of game he might really shine with. If man-on-man marking up against Adama Traore, he's going to beat his man 9 times out of 10 with the pace and power he's got. So this could be a game for him to shine. I'm really looking forward to this game. Leeds, as we mentioned earlier, was so good against Man City last time out and probably should have picked up all 3 points rather than only coming away with a draw. And have also impressed against Liverpool. Those are the only two games they've dropped points in so far this season. So they're absolutely flying at the moment and certainly lived up to pre-season expectations that they're not going to be in a relegation dogfight this season. I don't see that being the case. Wolves have had something of a mixed start to the season. 2 wins, 2 draws. Last time out, they scraped past Fulham 1-0. But before that, lost to West Ham 4-0. So they're yet to really find their feet and find a bit of momentum this season. Against Leeds, obviously a really difficult test, as we mentioned. Leeds starting the season so well. Again, I've sat on the fence a little here. I've gone for a lot of draws this week, and this is another one. I've gone for 2-2 in this one.
Yeah, same 2-2. We've gone for a few actually the same, haven't we, that are a bit out there, not really. I just think that there's going to be goals in this game. Obviously, Leeds have gone toe to toe with Liverpool and City this season, so they're not going to change that. I don't think for Wolves, as good as Wolves can be. Obviously, they've done that to the 2 best sides in the league and ran Liverpool very close and took a point off City. So, Leeds, I think they're going to have a good season. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the bottom of the table. I think they've got loads of energy, a really good coach, some good players. That obviously, they played together for quite a while now, this group of players, so they do know each other. It's not like they've all been thrown together and they have to find a way to play. Obviously, Wolves, I think the big thing for me was there was a slight talk, wasn't there, that some of their players might actually have to be out of this game because of Cristiano Ronaldo's obviously positive coronavirus test, but it's going to be the case. Obviously, Wolves, so many Portuguese players that were away with their national side. Obviously, that's a big plus for them. The fact that they've got a little bit longer to recover as well for this game will obviously be a big thing. But yeah, like you've gone a draw here. 2 teams that obviously Leeds have started slightly better. Wolves, like you say, 2 wins, 2 draws, still feeling their way in, I think, to the new season as everyone really. Everyone is obviously a difficult time for all the clubs to settle in. But yeah, I've gone same as you, 2-2.
Both gone for 2-2 draws in that game. Okay, great. Cheers, Matt. We'll be back next week with some more predictions. You can find features and previews and news ahead of all those games and plenty more across Europe and in the Championship over on sportsmore.co.uk. You can also subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube now. So please be sure to do that if you don't want to miss an episode. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.